For many, the term pipe organ evokes images of church on Sunday. But in the 1920s, pipe organs reached a wider audience.
Municipal organs were at one time something that every major city had, and the Atlantic City Convention Hall Mider-Losh, I believe, would be best described as the crowning example of a municipal organ. It's the world's largest pipe organ. It's an amazing collection of sounds. It has probably every voice you could ever want to find in an organ.
A municipal pipe organ is a fun pipe organ. It's an entertainment machine. It has to play music written for orchestra, written for band. It has to accompany great huge choirs when they do a choral program and so on. It has to play theme songs for convention shows. It has to do everything. So the municipal organ has to have the widest possible variety of tone. And this one certainly does.
Most municipal halls at that time had pipe organs installed. It was a matter of prestige, really. So when City A got a new building and a new pipe organ, then City B did likewise. In Atlantic City, this magnificent building really would have been considered incomplete if a pipe organ were not actually installed in it by one of the era's foremost organ builders.
They built this hall, and they needed some instrument that would fill this with music. I think that the hall itself, the organ in it, the other organ in the ballroom, which is a large instrument in itself, deserves to be preserved as a part of our heritage.
People weren't afraid to dream and really push the envelope in both engineering, when you look at this building, and in taking a craft that was hundreds of years old at that point and taking it to new levels of how they could use an instrument to fill a space like this.
The Convention Hall organ has more than 33,000 pipes at last count, making it more than 10 times the size of the average church organ. Its design, both traditional and progressive, embraces vital aspects of multiple schools of organ building. The instrument has maintained its global appeal and stature for over 3/4 of a century. Organists who've had the chance to play it agree. It's a veritable laboratory for musical experiment and innovation.
The design of the organ console is such that you can get to all of the pedals and to all of the stop tabs, and there are some 1,250 of them, and all of the keyboards. The top few are slanted so that the very top one is almost vertical, so you can easily reach all of them.
The organ behind me has 33,000 pipes, and every single one of them was made by hand. They would have to have been made by hand 500 years ago, and they'd have to be made by hand now the exact same way they were 500 years ago. When you have something that is this personal to its creator and this specific to its place of origin, it is a genuine work of art.
When I was first asked to go look at the Atlantic City organ, I didn't know what I was going to find. I assumed, as many people do, that it might be just a big white elephant, a giant, sort of strange conglomeration of things that really makes only sense as being the world's largest. Well, that's not true at all. When I went through the organ in great detail, I found a magnificent musical instrument, beautifully designed, beautifully made with the finest materials, a real serious musical architecture. And it's a great instrument, but it also is an exciting one. I've been very lucky in my career to have the chance to do a consulting study of both of the really giant organs, the famous Atlantic City organ and the Wanamaker department store organ in Philadelphia. They're both magnificent. I approached them both, by the way, thinking they might be white elephants, but they aren't. Now, the interesting thing about the Wanamaker job is that it has taken off. It's being restored. It's very popular. It's become a very successful musical instrument and a wonderful attraction for the store and for the city of Philadelphia. So it serves, in a way, as a model for what could happen in Atlantic City.
The Atlantic City Convention Hall organ was an instrument similar to what people have seen in their churches, but on a gargantuan scale. You have one of the largest free open spaces in the world in this building, and the amount of sound it takes to fill a room like this with an exciting sound requires Herculean construction of an instrument beyond what anyone had ever dreamt of up until that time. And it has higher pressures. Just like if you blow harder into a whistle, you get it louder. Well, pipe organ, the same thing. So they had pressures that had never been used before in order to create the kind of power that's needed to fill a room like this. And it was eminently successful.
Just the enormity of what is inside the walls of Convention Hall is unbelievable. When I was here as a 16-year-old, we had 13 grand pianos connected to the organ. We had 13 trap sets with drums, cymbals, gongs, bird whistles, even sheets of thunder, all kinds of percussions, glockenspiels, marimbas, vibraharps, xylophones, and so forth. Any strings that you'd ever want to hear on an organ were on this organ. The flutes, there's a myriad of them. All the trumpets you'd ever want. You have different volume trumpets. You have trumpets, you have the ophicleide, which is under what we call 100-inch wind pressure. And when you hear those pipes go, any other trumpets that you would ever have heard on an organ are obliterated. The strings are so lush, it sounds like symphony orchestras. The sound of the pedals thunders from all areas. The emotional element that you can get through this organ, whether it's a march or a church hymn or a lullaby, goes from the loudest type of sound that you can hear in order to fill the room to putting a child to sleep with just a very, very beautiful small violin. And so it encompasses all the sounds that you can ever think of.
There are 8 pipe chambers, arranged in 4 opposing pairs throughout the hall. This means that the organist can actually move the sound around the audience, creating audio effects decades before the advent of today's cinematic surround sound. Sound effects, drums and percussion, ground-shaking bass, and a huge reverberant sound, all generated by an acoustic instrument. It's the drama of stereo before its time. The Atlantic City Convention Hall organ is one of only 2 pipe organs in the world with a 64-foot-long pipe in the pedal. Constructed from 3-inch thick timber, this gargantuan pipe weighs approximately 3,350 pounds and produces a powerful tone of a mere 8 hertz or cycles per second. While nearly impossible to record or reproduce on modern sound systems, this nearly subsonic stop adds an impressive degree of gravity and grandeur to large ensemble sounds. The stop is more felt than heard. The organ's 64-foot stop was only one of numerous tonal innovations specified by its architect, State Senator Richards.